모닝 파워! 모닝 터보!
These guys should probably be up in Premier compared to some of the other players that we had, but definitely some players coming in big for Premier. Obviously, Biel on top currently. He's 5-1, ahead of Innovation, ahead of Solar, ahead of Stats, all these other big names that were doing very well, especially in other tournaments, you know, when you consider someone like Stats. So Biel really having a good couple of individual leagues so far.
Yeah, he really is, and Innovation is coming back to form. It feels like he had a bit of a shaky time after IEM Gyeonggi, but looks to be doing really well right now. And, you know, this tournament is so cool because of its format. If you're watching for the first time, this tournament is actually played in a round-robin format like Pro League used to be played in this very studio. So every player will play every other player once, and that's why we see the same players every week. So it's really important for those players in Challenge to make it into Premier so they can play with this live crowd every single week here on Mondays. Let's take a look at our matchups tonight.
Yeah, of course, Fly Butterfly Jin Air. This whole tournament brought to you by Jin Air. SOS, the Jin Air player, up against Dark to start the first match. Then we got Solar versus Patience, a ZVP to follow that one up. Then for match 3, we got Innovation versus Biel, definitely the marquee match of the night.
And then Stats will face off against Aile in our fourth match of the evening. And our last fifth match will be Maru versus Zest for the TVP. It's going to be an exciting evening of matches for sure. I feel like today is one of our better nights of SSL Premier. Let's break down our matchups in terms of lifetime records here. Soo-hyun is our announcer, and she's also the girl who does 10 questions, 10 answers, our new version. So whenever you see SpoTV Games posting that on Reddit, do ask her questions to the players. We release a new one every week that goes in our 10-minute break commercial slot. So you guys, normally during that time, you're just all tabbing and doing some other stuff, maybe playing a game of StarCraft, but to watch that 10 questions, 10 answers. Here's our rankings. Biel with a win will, of course, advance to the postseason or playoffs. A loss for either Zest or SOS tonight, both of them. If they take any more losses, they will be eliminated and will not actually have the chance to go into the playoffs and will also be relegated to the fast lane. And they have to win every game from now on in order to have a chance. They still have a chance, but they have to win every single map or every single best of series.
Yeah, doubtful that that'll happen, but would be pretty crazy of a story if it actually did. For our first matchup of the night, SOS versus Dark, one of a couple of PVZs we have coming tonight. You can see that SOS is currently ahead in terms of head-to-head in both Total and Legacy of the Void, but you gotta look towards Dark's recent results, definitely on better form these days.
Definitely true. You can see in the matchup versus Zerg, it's a negative for both players, you know, in this respective matchup. Talking about our second match of the evening, Solar versus Patience. Big, massive lead to Solar, really known for this matchup, obviously. You can see 20-12 and 29-9 in Legacy of the Void, but even if you look at their lifetime matchups against each other, it's even stronger in favor of Solar. But Patience seems to have this SSL armor, so perhaps he's able to take this match in a matchup that he's also decent at, but he's just not as known as Solar in the matchup. So yeah, definitely the underdog.
And both of those guys are very high up in the rankings right now. Currently, Patience is in 3rd and Solar is in 4th, so a win against each other for either player would definitely boost their rating really high because they definitely have some weaker opponents to play in the future to boost their stats. So definitely a very important match there. Our second match of the night for both of those players.
Every point matters, but some points matter more than others. The higher level opponent you beat, the more you get out of the round robin system because it'll be easier for you to get points from the weaker players. Speaking of which, SOS down at the bottom with Zest right now. A loss in this best of 3 would knock him out of playoffs. He will not be able to advance. Will be going to the fast lane where he might find himself in SSL Challenge for Season 2.
Look at his recent achievements. Only the halfway there achievement, which is for winning the first game of a series. And when you get to some of the other players that are on top, they have lots of other achievements. So it just kind of adds to the idea that SOS really hasn't had a very good Season 1 of SSL Premier.
No, he has not. He's always more known for weekend tournaments. He's more known for playing in Pro League, whereas Dark, a player who's done very well in both. You know, he did well in Pro League as one of SKT's star Zergs and has had very good success, especially in SpoTV tournaments, the SSL champion. of earlier this year, or sorry, last year, the first champion of 2016's SSL. It did make it to the finals of the last season, where he lost to Solar in the grand finals.
Yeah. And last week, he did take a 2-1 victory over Maru. Just let game one kind of slip away from him, but then did take 2 in a row. But very curious to see what he can do here up against a Protoss player in SOS. This is our map list. Kirk Precinct seems to be a big favorite. Has been played a lot of times. Actually, the most times out of any map here in SSL Premier so far.
That's right, we're going in for game number 1. Let's jump into it.
SOS 김유진 나 황영우
Welcome to Kirk Precinct.
Welcome to the Janair airplane, too.
Yes. SOS will spawn to the bottom left in yellow.
And his opponent's in the bottom right. The Zerg player, it is Dark.
You and I normally do it the other way. I ruined our rhythm.
It's okay.
I said it first.
You got to switch things up. That's how you find new cool combinations.
Sure.
Can't always do the same thing. You always have to welcome change, Wolf.
Yes. We'll see if SOS will welcome change here, as we will have a change in the roster for Premier. He might not be on it if he loses this best of 3 as we start things off on Kirk Precinct. Dark, definitely considered to be the better player right now. Really on fire. And we will see the drone come down. Going to be a hatch first. SOS in the past, and other iterations of StarCraft 2, Heart of the Swarm, Wings of Liberty, might have been inclined to Cannon Rush. Not in this meta. He promised he'd come a year ago. And
I wish he'd stop shaking that ticket so I could read it.
So I think he's from Busan, if I read the sign correctly. So he last year was at the SSL, and he was like, I'll be there next year too. And he followed up on his promise. He was shown on the broadcast a year ago, and now he's on the broadcast again.
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Having someone be a consistent fan like that. SOS being annoying here at the Minerals, just putting that down. He's going to make his wall here on the ramp. You got another sign. This guy is pretty much at every single day. I recognize his handwriting with the gigantic O's.
Yeah.
Eons.
Gonna be
no Korean.
Yes. If you don't know Korean, if you don't know how to read it, and you're worried about starting, or you're not sure if it's a daunting task, it looks really difficult, just spend some time looking up the alphabet, because it's a lot easier than you think. You can learn to read really in about an hour, and if you practice daily, train yourself, you can read Korean. It won't do you much good if you can't understand it, but a lot of Korean writing is English words in Hangul, so
it's definitely a good place to start. You know, learn the alphabet. Pretty much with any language, that's the first thing to do, and it's particularly easy in Korean. And then maybe you can learn word by word, you know, words like sungni, which means like win.
Yes.
It's very common on fan signs out here. This Overlord's going to get a scout of the Stargate.
Yeah, the Stargate will be scouted. It's part of the wall, and you know, SOS is not even trying to hide it. Evolution Chamber coming down, and he's going for quite a few Lings here, so maybe looking to do a +1 Ling attack. Just sticking with a few Lings for now, and the speed to deal with the Adepts. It's going to be an Oracle opening. No Corsairs coming out in StarCraft 2, so.
Yep. And this is going to be pretty interesting. I think he's going to go for a drop.
Yeah,
just
it's a
with
drop,
8
actually.
Lings
That's what the
main.
Evo Chamber is for.
And, you know, the Oracle is going to be very good against those Lings if it's in the main of SOS. But generally with that Oracle, you send it across the map.
Oh,
unless
checks
you get
the perfect timing. He knows the timing of this exactly. And now the Oracle can just be rallied back home.
Did he see it, though? I mean, this is coming on in. He's rallied over to where that Overlord was.
I don't think he actually saw it.
Oh, man.
He should have.
He would have been able to easily clean up all these Lings, but now they're going to clean up all the probes in the main. This is terrible for SOS.
The Oracle's coming back, but he's already lost several probes here. Now he's going to have to overcharge the front of his base. The Oracle's going to clean these things up very quickly. Ooh, actually, mismicroed there. The Lings get surrounded, so loses more than he should have there, but still 9 probe kills, and he's just going to keep ferrying more and more in here. Needs to control them, though. Okay, there they go. Well, one's attacking the Nexus. That's not what you want. 2 of them even.
Yeah.
Well, this was a bit messy on both sides, but
he's still going for it.
Yep.
He's actually going so aggressive with this. A really sick move by Dark, and he's really pushing the agenda here.
Well, you know, you guys don't have the health bars open, but several of those probes are weakened from earlier, so it looks kind of futile when you look at it on the preview screen, but on the actual monitor in game, a lot of these probes are weakened. He's finishing them off, so 5 more. But I feel like this is held, and Dark is not making any more. He's not making more drones, basically all in. Another Oracle attack here to help things off. Nice wall here by SOS. A few Adepts come out. Mothership Core could overcharge, and this attack is held. Can't kill the Phoenix, there's no way. Now the transition for Dark is going to be a little bit tougher. He made a 3rd base, but as his Phoenix is about to confirm, there's no drones there, as he just tries to frantically drone up and recover. He did a lot of damage, but not critical damage, which is what he was looking to do.
Yeah, with the double drop and that many lings being committed to, as you were talking about, Dark was on 22 drones for the entirety of that attack. Only when it eventually failed did he go and make a bunch of drones. And also he lost, I think, maybe 2 or 3 Overlords, so he got supply blocked, he had to remake those Overlords. And so you really have to question, was it worth it at the end of it all? And, he is a base ahead, but he doesn't really have that 3-base economy just yet. That's what he's struggling to get right now.
Yeah, it looks like SOS is now comfortable enough to make the transition to Twilight Tech to get Glaives. He did get the Spore Crawlers up just in time. SOS is just going to tank with shields and then back off. 15 kills in total on the Oracle with all the destroyed lings earlier. Only 3 drones. He actually makes a second one, perhaps hoping that it was only going to be a Queen at the 3rd base, but there is a Spore Crawler there as well. So well-protected drone line, but the worker count is even, which as a Zerg player you never really want to be the case. You always want to be ahead in drones. You want to have that economy advantage because your units are just not as cost efficient as the Protoss is. You need to have a heavy economy to overwhelm the Protoss. Glaives are on the way. We'll see if SOS takes a 3rd with this. He's just going to one-shot these drones now with double Oracle. You can do that. And just tanks again with shields and starting to get a little bit further ahead. So you can see he even has the larger army now, and he could just hit with a massive Glaive attack once it's done. And if he adds a few gateways, he can support those on this 3rd base. Dark has seen this.
Yeah, he's going to get that information that that 3rd base is coming up. But with this delayed economy of Dark, it's going to be very hard to get a force that's big enough to really get on top of that. Not a huge amount of gateways were made. Lots of tech being committed to here by SOS. I think he's still only on actually just 2 gateways right now. So he's going to have Glaives, but he doesn't have that huge burst of gateways to make a huge number of Adepts to secure that 3rd base. He wants to commit to some other tech first.
It almost feels like Dark should commit to another Spore Crawler. He's lost 4 more drones to these Oracles. Queen was not there in time. The Phoenix is just continuing to scout. It's a very high utility here. He doesn't actually have to have any money invested in sentries for the follow-up scout. He doesn't have an observer yet. The Robo's just now finishing. The attack is here. He does not want to shade onto those Banelings if they finish. Just cancels the shade and backs off. Dark is now forced to make Banelings because he knows that he could straight up die to a push if it's coming. This is not a huge commitment for SOS, but he has a large enough units to do a serious amount of damage if not responded to it. And he has the Oracles to actually defend these. Queens do come up here. Already a pre-split on these Adepts. Actually punches them up a little bit more for that 1 Baneling hit, but he needs more units to defend this.
Yeah, it really needs something else. The Queen's doing a decent job. Those links still not picked off, but even just this number of Adepts with the resonating glaives, you can do so much damage if there's just nothing to respond to it. And it's only lings so far, no Banelings being morphed. He's going to be able to take out a majority of this mineral line, and already 17 drones have been killed.
This might just be game over. Dark's all-in was held, the counterattack is real, and they even kill a Spore Crawler, which will be an annoyance for later.
And even if he does hold this off, like, he gets a really nice surround here, and he does hold it off. But look at where we are in this game. Dark is on 44 drones, 3 base to 3 base. SOS's economy is so much bigger, and now he has that gateway explosion after that 3rd base economy comes through. So the follow-up attack is going to be even more brutal.
It's going to be deadly.
SOS.
He has an Immortal. I think he's about to have 2. He's getting Blink and Disruptor Tech, but he doesn't even need any of these things realistically to end the game. He has a Warp Prism, and that's enough. Again, just set up an attack at the front and then Warp Prism the rest of the Adepts into the main base. He's going to, get a second Robo, though, and go into that Disruptor Tech. Wants to do his best Neve impression here, but Hydra tech is the answer for Dark. That's what he wants to try to go into here. He has recovered in drones, and because SOS did not have a follow-up attack, he lives. And SOS only had 2 gateways for that entire pressure. But here's the big warp we were talking about. With the 7 gates now completed, can Dark ever hope to defend this? He has a few Hydras coming out, but they're not ready yet. Several of them will just spawn right here in the main base and die.
Yeah,
and
once small numbers against those Adepts, they're going to be shredded to pieces.
Yeah, once 7 more Adepts come in, I think that is going to be lights out. And here they come, 7 more. And Dark just does not have enough to deal with this, and the main base is going to lose his Hydra Den if he doesn't respond quickly. He's researching movement speed. It's not going to be the end of the world if he loses that. More about the Hydra Den in general. Big free split here for SOS. A massive amount of Queens come up to defend. This is just so efficient for SOS though, and it doesn't really cost him that much to do this. And he's killed so many workers. He's stopped so much mining. If Dark had a 4th base, you could argue, okay, well, he's got something to fall back on here, but he just simply does not. The Queen's being cost efficient. He's just going to save these Adepts. He can harass later, but he's going to Colossus tech. Now that he sees the Hydras coming out, he's not even going to go down the Disruptor path. He's going to have Colossi to deal with Hydras. No Lurkers on the map, no Spire tech whatsoever. It's pretty nasty.
Yeah, it definitely did a bit of damage. You know, you can't really deny that. But I almost wish like he just went for 1 warp in and then just went back with the Warp Prism, because I feel like if you just save all of those Adepts, like all 14, and then you attack with 4 Colossi with range against basically just Hydras, maybe he has some Lurkers when the attack hits after. I feel like you'd be able to totally crush him, but I think SOS getting a little bit too tricky, which is what SOS likes to do. He's a very tricky player, but we'll see how this follow-up attack comes out here. He's actually already going for the attack. 6 Sentries, 2 Colossi, 1 Immortal in the mix too.
Yep, only the 1. Ooh, this bailing run by not spotted by SOS. He's going to lose a lot of probes. If somehow Dark can miraculously hold this,
nice.
That's going to be significant. If he holds, it was really cost efficient to kill that many probes.
Yeah, 13 probes for 4 Banelings is really big. I think he's going to have to give up this 4th.
He does.
If SOS wants to kill it.
He didn't actually commit all the way in. He's a little bit nervous.
Interesting.
Well, he wants to attack when this Prism is harassing the main base, it looks like. Transfuse comes down. He actually could have perhaps killed the Morphing Lurker Den. I think that's what he really wanted to do, but sadly the defense was too good for Dark. So I think that's how his target was going to be. That's the cancel on the hatch. And now he's going to have 4 Colossi with range, as you mentioned. His 4th base is held against that Ling Poke. Doesn't have any observers in his army, which is going to be a big issue.
He has 1. Let me actually check where that is. No, it's at the 3rd base, yeah. Okay.
Because I was like, well, he's not clearing the creep, so that's weird. That's absolutely necessary to hold the attack, or to make the attack work, because without detection, the Lurkers will just wipe everything out eventually.
Yeah. Right now, there's only 2 Lurkers, so it seems like that 1 observer should be just enough. And he may even be able to catch them if they're not burrowed on time. Dark is still just, it's this economy problem where SOS is like, okay, I dare you to make a 4th base. And every time he does, he forces a cancel. And you see that kind of puny Zerg army on the right side. Doesn't really look like much to those 3-4 Colossi. Looks like only 3 Colossi that SOS has right now.
Oh, he's going to go for another Bailing Run. By this time, I believe it's spot. Yeah, he warps in, so he must know. Needs to pull the probes. Just going to commit to pylons.
Interesting.
Oh, so the Lings come in, that's why.
Yeah, this is actually really cool. And
he's just going to target the Nexus.
The majority of his army, SOS's army, is out on the map. Now this Warp Prism might be taken out. Very close there. Dark is making so many cases for him to come back into this game.
I feel like SOS is really bungling this. You know, he's not... Oh, now he's going to go up with the ramp against this. Ooh. He could have earlier, but now he can't. And oh,
now it's
man,
6
this
and
is...
not two Lurkers.
Yeah, this is... SOS is just so indecisive. He never actually did that big frontal attack. Maybe he never realized how ahead he was, and he was too timid to move forward, and he couldn't really check with an observer to see how big the army was, because if it gets picked off, he doesn't have another one. He's making another Warp Prism now. I think he actually lost his last one trying to harass. This base is still canceled, but at least now Dark got the 4th of SOS, so they're on even bases.
Yeah.
He's just continuing to harass. Like, SOS needs to have more defense than this.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a little bit of timidness in his play, and he's allowed Dark to get up to where he is now. He has this big death ball, still an incredibly scary Protoss army, and it still is 3 bases to 3 bases, which is nice for SOS. But here we go again, more Bailey's coming in.
He looks this time, he's only going to lose a few probes here. Unfortunately, that assimilator forces the path a little bit weird, so he gets 6, but making more Colossi. And you know, Colossi could do very well against this type of army, but there's Vipers coming out here. Dark has the proper tech to deal with this. And it feels like SOS has forgotten that most Protosses... Oh, Dark was not paying attention because a lot of use free. It seems like SOS has forgotten that most Protosses have been using Immortals to counter this type of composition. He could get more Immortals out more quickly than he could get these Colossi out, then use the barriers at the front to break that through. So his Colossi could do the free damage. Doesn't have a big buffer or meat shield for these Colossi, which is going to be a problem, especially once the Vipers start flying in and he gets them yoinked. Dark's never going to be able to take a 4th base, but if SOS messes up the engagement, he's got the smaller army, and AoE is a powerful tool. So you can see these lurkers are set up, and if SOS had gone up that ramp, for example, to attack the 3rd base, that would have been disastrous. So he decided to back off. He has this +2 advantage now as well, and he's getting Psystorm. So he is leading to this amazing, super powerful army, but he's never remade his 4th, and that's what I'm most worried about, because if this Protoss army dies one time, it is impossible to remake with the economy SOS has. Even if he loses Colossi, that's almost too expensive for him to replace right now. With his main base mined out and no 4th base.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned the Vipers from before, because those are really going to be the key units. If you can just yoink 3 Colossi right from the get-go and then start the fight, he actually wants to go for it. Already one Colossus goes down, another one in bad position. That's 2 that go down before the fight even starts.
Oh, man.
And now Dark is really trumping that supply of SOS, and he wants to go for the attack now.
He definitely does. He's going to come over here. These sentries, also very low on health, by the way. He's just trying to use them to buy time. Lings, some of them getting through. Some Banelings as well. Wanted to get the sentries. Gets several there. Feedback's going off, not on the Vipers, but on the Overseers, which is not what he wants. He wants to feedback the Vipers if he can. This base is forced to cancel, and Dark now has a 4th base that he can secure. This game is now turned on its head completely. I feel like you have to say that Dark is ahead now.
Oh man, even the warp-in is denied. Dark is miles ahead now. He's going to have that extra base, and he has Ultralisk tech on the way. So many lurkers have been made. He's going to go up to 11 here. He's really going to begin sieging this 3rd base, maybe even send some more Lings up towards the 4th. You can see that in the top left of the map right now. And yeah, I feel like SOS just gave Dark a little bit too much room. Dark's a good enough player to take advantage of that, and now he's grabbed this game by the horns.
Yes, he has. This 5th base even coming up now is a large Protoss army coming over here. And that the one thing about lurkers, their biggest weakness is that they're so vulnerable while moving. So he didn't have them in position to save this base. He moves them over now. That's one thing that SOS is definitely doing well. He's got a ton of Psystorm here, and he is going to blanket this army. He invested well when he was low on economy in those storms. Oh, what are these lurkers doing? Dark's got to move those away. He has so much in these High Templar. As long as he can get the good storms, he can win the fight. Absolutely. Even smaller army supply. Doesn't matter if he hits the right storms. Has to cancel this base. His 4th does continue to be morphed in over here, though. But man, this is dirty, this game we're watching right now. This is not the level of play we'd expect to see from these two. Okay, blinks forward. For what? For an Overseer?
Well, he blinked on top of the Banelings, so a bunch of the Stalkers immediately blew up. Then he ate some of the Lurker shots. Dark kind of just on the defensive at the 4th base that he's finally been able to take. SOS really wants to deny it, though. He's coming in here.
This is a good angle here. Just needs to go good Psystorms, and there they are. Just continuing to blanket them down. 2 Colossi do get yoinked, though, and Storm is not very good against the Ultralisk. He has to kite back up the ramp now. The rest of the army is dead, though, and this lone Ultra is not going to do the job. It actually gets taken out there. But you now see the tech switch from SOS back into the Immortals. He has Charge, actually, about to finish for his Zealots. A unit we don't often see anymore in most matchups. Banelings are pretty good against them, though. But he's just trying to sink some of those extra resources into harassment. That was very cost inefficient. He didn't get anything done with those Zealots. Is going to get this base, though. So just keeping SOS on the 4 bases, he's also on himself. This is a really close game right now, but more Ultras coming out. It's all about control, and these the units that are the energy units as we approach the late game. We've been in mid-game for so long now. As we approach the late game, energy units are so valuable. These Vipers can kill multiple Colossi on their own. As long as he doesn't lose them, they're super valuable. The same with this High Templar.
He's still got 2. And he needs them. There's only 1 Colossus right now. Coming on in alone are the Ultras, actually, and huge storms on the lurkers on the left side. Uh-oh.
Stormed his own observers. He needs to make sure he does not lose those, because if he loses them, he won't be able to kill the rest of this army. And the lurkers were really nice, or rather, the storms were really nicely placed on the lurkers. Dark's going to go for a counterattack here. He really wants to eliminate this base. He needs to find something The Ultras are the unit that SOS doesn't have a massive counter to yet, but he now has 5 Immortals, so he can deal with them if he targets properly, and he can deal with the buffer for the Ultras, which is what those Psy Storms are designed to do. Ooh, these Ultras off creep, super slow. Even the Zealots starting to charge in and catch them. Just wants to get the Immortals on top. Stalkers blink forward, he picks off an Ultra. And Dark is fading fast in supply as he was never able to hold on to that 5th base.
Yeah, somehow, some way, this game has come back into SOS's favor.
And people say StarCraft 2 doesn't have comeback mechanics.
Well,
it's definitely been back and forth this one. As we see the barriers popped on the Immortals, he has more than enough to deal with this. GG, SOS will take game number 1. Remember, he has to win every series for the remainder of the round robin stage in order to advance to playoffs. So he wants to just close this one out 2-0, go home and get some rest for next week.
yeah, SOS looking good, I have to say. I mean, there were some mistakes that he made in that game for sure. You know, maybe overcommitting to the Adept Harass, allowing Dark to set up a defensive position. But the one thing that he really did that was nice, and which is why Dark had a huge gas bank but no minerals towards the end, is because he denied the 4th base for so long. He made it a 3-base versus 3-base game for like 5 full minutes. And that's a lot in Legacy of the Void.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Legacy too, because it would have been okay for a while, but the main base mine's out and you're in deep trouble, because then you're really 2 bases as a Zerg player who always needs to be ahead in bases. But it all, I mean, we didn't even talk too much about it again, but the all-in failed. He made a good transition there, defended what SOS was throwing at him for the most part, but couldn't get that 4th and couldn't fully mine from his bases because of all the harassment. But guys, we're going into game number 2 now on Daybreak.
Here we go, up in the top right. The Yellow Protoss from the generic Green Wings. It is SOS.
His opponent, to the bottom left in purple, is Dark, formerly of SKT. So, Daybreak, another 2-player map here. A much longer rush distance, so definitely going to be seeing more passive play from Dark to start things off, you have to imagine. I mean, he could still do a drop, but ferrying is not going to be viable because the distance between the base that's to the left of SOS's main and the main base is just too far to actually have slow Overlords ferrying. You can get 1 drop or you could do a double Overlord drop, but ferrying, like we saw Dark do in the previous set, is just not really viable.
Well, we have some time here in the beginning, some stats actually from that last map, Kirk Precinct. Zerg was actually 5-1 over Protoss on Kirk Precinct, which was the most played map at 18 times before that game. Now that was the 19th game. Now we're going into Daybreak, which is the 2nd most played map, funnily enough, at 16. This will be game number 17, and ZVP is 2-3. So, but at the same time, as you and I were talking about, the Protosses in this league haven't really been doing all that well when you consider that SOS and Zest, the 2 guys at the bottom, are part of that Protoss race.
Yeah. So something that...
Whoa. Oh boy.
Oh my god.
That's something that you never want to have happen if you're playing on TV, especially when the observer catches it.
I suppose the reason why that happened was because he was spamming, which is something the players do to keep their hands warmed up to have full speeds at the early game when there's not too much to do. So later on in the game, they're still at that same speed without having this. It's like when you jog in place at the crossing when you're running and you don't want to lose the rhythm. You don't want to have your heart rate slow down or anything like that. You've got to keep your pacing going. So players will spam in the early game, and by spam I mean repeatedly box their workers, rotate through their hotkeys to make sure they have them all down. So SOS probably during that, before he went to make that second assimilator, just clicked on the mineral patch by accident while all of his probes boxed. Not the end of the world, but just an uncharacteristic mistake off of in such a demanding mechanical game.
Yeah, it seemed like he freaked out a little bit too. He didn't immediately fix the problem, so I feel like he may have lost maybe 70, 80 minerals from just that one mistake. So definitely is important early on in the game. but players do make mistakes from time to time. SOS perhaps a little bit nervous as he knows the pressure is on. He needs to win every single series, as you mentioned, in order to have a chance to make it into playoffs.
It's actually adding 2 more gateways here. And we haven't seen the Twilight Council come up yet. Okay, it's going to be a Stargate. Interesting, he would add the gates first. And I think he wanted to hide this, but guess what? Elite Stargate is spotted. He's going to harass this third base, actually, and he's going to set up an overcharge location. He's going to force a lot of lings, which is exactly what SOS wants. He's going to have the Oracle taken home to defend the third base eventually against said lings. So this is one way to kind of, I mean, we're getting into real theoreticals here, but you're kind of killing drones here in terms of the drones were never born because they were Zerglings instead. And when you do this pressure, you force the lings, and then the lings are not useful. So you've basically just weakened Dark's economy. Wants to recall, will do it, gets away with it. So very low cost, doesn't lose anything except a pylon. And I suppose the probe died, but very effective harassment. Now he has the answer with the Oracle and the Adepts that could deal with Zerglings very handily.
Yeah,
and
now what are these lings going to do on the map now? I mean, they could have been made one cycle later when he's on, you know, 40, 42 drones, which is what he wants at this point, but now he's just got these lings, and now he needs to find something to do with them. So he's going towards that third base, wants to check if it's coming up, but not quite coming up just yet.
Will be soon. The Oracle is going to be away from it, though. He's going to be over here harassing this third base. There's a Queen, and a Spore Crawler is morphing, but he can actually do a lot of damage. Actually, there's 2 Queens. That'll be enough. Buy him some time to get that Spore up. Going into +1 for lings, actually, and going to Banelings once more to deal with the Adept composition, which actually did very well against even the later on Zealot harassment. Having a Baneling Nest is always useful in this matchup nowadays. Dark was actually the player who pioneered this tactic back in 2016 in the early stages of Legacy of the Void. Okay, well, sees the base now. His Overlord will be cleared away. We'll see a Prism come up, and SOS is going to continue the similar harassment to what he did in the previous set. The problem is that Dark is actually kind of on even footing this game. It's going to be a lot tougher to actually make that work.
Yeah, and on a map like this, that fourth base is going to be pretty far away. The only thing that's kind of hard is if SOS, with this Warp Prism, can do a lot of harassment damage to it with all of those gateways that he is making 5 more. So that's really the objective here for Dark. Wants to secure a fourth base safely, get that economy going, and then eventually tech up.
Comes the Oracle back into the main. He's looking for an angle on the gas drones or the edge-most mineral patches out of the range of the Spore. Just gets 1. Again, only losing shields. Would have liked to get more, but this is as efficient as he can make it. Really impressive control. SOS always been good with his Oracle control. Lings missed these Adepts, sadly. Still would have been a decent trade for SOS because of the positioning, but it's actually kind of crazy he gets away with that. As we see, the Warp Prism is heading around now towards the main base.
Yeah, and he still has that Oracle over there, so he can just do some, you know, double-sided harass, I suppose, up in the main. And oh boy, that's 8 Adepts being warped in right now to follow up with the 3. That's 11 Adepts in his main right when Resonating Glaives is about to finish.
He's going to commit to this really heavily now. Just knock down this Spore Crawler, actually, which means the Oracle can harass better later. He's going to hit the third base during all of this. Queen's coming over very quickly to knock the Prism away, but he actually is unsuccessful in killing it. Now these Adepts are just going to cancel their shade. This is part of the strength of the Adept. A lot of people complain about the Adept because of its attack speed and how much damage it does, but its mobility is a big issue. The Lings can't be both places at once. The Banelings here are going to come in now. SOS pre-splits. Nice splitting here by SOS, in fact.
Yeah, really fantastic. Now the Lings try to come on in, but actually going to shade a bunch of his Adepts into the natural here. Going to go up against a couple of Hydras that are helping out these Lings in the front. Another warp into the main. Even a Stasis Warp being set up by that Oracle to help out with the attack.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll even see that. Look at this. More attacks at the third base as well. Drones galore are being killed right now. He cancels this. This time he's going to get the Hydra in and stop the muscular augments.
Oh man, it's really close to transfuse to keep it alive.
Okay, nicely done. He's still going to get the Hydra in, which is nice. It finishes.
That was close.
It finishes, but
that was really close.
He Yeah, it needed those transfuses, but this is a really amazing position for SOS now. No Hydras can be produced until he remakes that.
He's going to get another warp in of 8 more Adepts here. And he has a third
one
base
Adept is
fully
still
mining.
One Adept has 14 kills. I think this is just eventually going to snowball out of control. Even if Dark holds this, we're in a similar place to last game where it's like, well, how can he recover? What's the next step here? As you can see back at home, SOS is making that same transition to, it looks like Colossi here with the second Robo and the Robotics Bay. This base is not mining at all. Shades away, just using that mobility. Lings alone are just so tough to actually make this work. Stasis on the Queen. This is game over.
He's getting way too much economic damage done now. Before he was fighting against a lot of the units, the army units, but finally he's found the meat of that economy. He's killed 24 drones. Down to 39 drones now is Dark, and still a lot of these Adepts lived after all of that. So I know you guys are in the chat spamming all in capitals, Adepts, Adepts, Adepts. But Dark, he didn't see that attack coming, and
just couldn't kill the Prism. And
couldn't kill the Prism, the really good split from SOS. And I guess just not enough units prepared to deal with that many Adepts.
Definitely not. Colossi coming out now. No Hydroden, no Lurkers. Might as well go Spire at this point. Was never even morphing the Lurker Den from the Hydroden. Remakes it now. Oh, okay, I'm going to make Hydras to deal with your... Oh, wait, you're going to have 2+ Colossi, possibly 4. You ended up making 3 last game, but Colossus' range is going to be out. SOS is ahead in every way. He survives. Dark survives once again, but he faces the same problems as mentioned before. The lack of economy. He has a 4th base coming up, but SOS is going to try to shut that down as soon as he has this Colossus army. See if he makes a 4th Colossus this time. He has a Prism already. Yep, going to go into 4. Yeah. 1 health on this Oracle.
Dark's kind of just banking on the hope that SOS doesn't attack him for a long time again. Plays very passive. I think he wants to try to get up to Hive and Vipers once again, but I don't know if that's really going to work. Even if it does and he survives, SOS is going to have a booming economy behind it. He has his own 4th base here. Comparable on timing with Dark's 4th base. And just the better tech to deal with this right now. And no sign of a Hive just yet. There it is, finally, on the production tab here for Dark.
That's right. I mean, if he gets the Hive, he can get some Vipers out. That's going to be key. It looks like he's just not even going to think about Lurkers for the time being. Just wants to have pure Hydra, which can work if you have the right pulls. He's going to have obviously some Banelings. I say pure Hydra, but yes, he has Lings and Banes, but they're just the meat shield for the Hydras. They're the core of the army. He's going to have +2 for his Lings. That's one upgrade advantage he'll have, but I mean, Lings versus Colossi.
Yeah.
That's what we're really talking about here.
Look at what SOS is doing too. He's not even just content with 4 base versus 4 base. He wants 5 bases versus the 4 bases of our Zerg player Dark. He's saying, okay, I'm so far ahead that I might as well pick up this base for free because there's nothing that Dark can do for another good 2-3 minutes to actually punish my 5th base, so I might as well get it up and running while attacking. In fact, he's moved across the map here with his 4 Colossi.
Yep. 4 Colossi, the magic number this time for the attack. Once again, no Observer here. Front must be flying over, no doubt, but can't clear the creep, which is kind of annoying. So now he's just kind of standing here, but here come those Banelings. There's the Observer as well. Force fields block out the Banes. And as it turns out, if Banes can't connect, they're pretty worthless, especially when AoE Colossi are mowing them down. He just wants to have the magic engagement, but with all these sentries here, it's going to be virtually impossible. And the economy of SOS is incredible this time. It was never really affected by Baneling harass like we saw in the last game. He's just going to move across here to look for the finishing blow. Stark is just outnumbered and outgunned. Force fields come down again, and this army can't do anything. The Colossi now going to siege these Queens even. Transfuses coming down to save a few of them. Another force field set.
Yeah, he gets them down. You can see how slow and safe. Slow and steady wins the race here.
He just wants more sentries because he has the economy to do it. He has on the map right now 8 gases. Actually, he starts at 9th and 10th right now at his 4th. You can see it, he just made those.
He just never wants to get out of position. He's taking slow, conservative steps towards this 4th base, and finally he takes it out very safely, and that's a very sweet victory for our Protoss player now. Dark desperately tries to get this 4th base up in the top left versus the 5 base Protoss. And SOS might just back off for now. Might just want to max out first. Wait for +2 attack and maybe even +1 armor.
Dark is supply blocked, and his answer to all of this is adrenal glands. I suppose he's going to try to do some massive Ling harassment. The Lings can't fight if they can't connect their melee units. There's so many, again, sentries with force fields. We do have a few Vipers here this time. And you know, the reason why SOS is being so methodical is, if you guys have seen some highlight clips that have been on YouTube where you see Nesty play, Banelings will kill everything if they connect, even if he's lower in supply, just because of the nature of AoE. So he just wants to make sure that one disastrous mistake doesn't happen, and then he wins every fight no matter what. He's going to Storm now, +3. This base is not happening, so Dark is now once again forced onto the 3. He's remaking another 4th base. Oh, gets a Viper as well.
Yep, that's a free Viper. Gonna take that and walk away. As you mentioned, Templar Archives in the Storm. We do have the Greater Spire coming up here, and maybe Broodlords on the way eventually. But still a nice contingency of Blink Stalkers and a ridiculous amount of sentries. Not going to be too good against the Broodlords, but he might just be able to end it before Dark even gets there. 15 sentries in total right now.
And that's 30 army supply that is not doing damage. But he's going to have the Storm, the +3. He's even getting +2 armor now. You see fake prisms coming out to give SOS the idea, or rather give Dark the idea that Harass is coming in a different location than when he's really going to do it, but there's already Overlords eyeing down this prism to the bottom left. When you think about the Broodlords, there's a lot of protection for them right now. Dark has this massive melee army and all this Hydra, so he has this huge DPS density of units, so it's going to be hard to blink under the Broodlords. If he gets the Broods up, that's his ticket back into this game. If he can hold on to the 4th and 5th base now that he's remaking, SOS is no longer able to pressure right now. He's not doing that, but he does scout this, and now he's starting the Fleet Beacon, so he'll have the answer. But this could buy Dark a lot of time. Dark has been so low on economy, but he hasn't been losing units at all. Every time he had those engages with the force fields, he just backed off over and over and over again. And he's like, yeah, make more sentries, make more sentries. I'm not losing any units. Now I have a nearly maxed out army. The game caps at 200. Had it not, maybe SOS would be at 250 supply right now, and he'd have this even larger, massive army. But because the game caps here, Dark survives. He has the buffer for his Broodlords. He's got 4 of them on the way. This forces SOS to make that Fleet Beacon transition. Lurkers at the top of this ramp going to make it very difficult to engage, and those sentries will pop like balloons if he tries it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to really admire what SOS is doing by taking it this slow and this steady and saying, okay, I'm so far ahead that, okay, I can just go Tempest on top of this. If you really want to get to it, I could just go Carriers too. And I'm going to even make a Dark Shrine. I'm going to get all the upgrades in the game, but at the same time, I feel like he's just playing with his food right now, and this is funny. Hilarious.
He just wants to throw these away because, oh, look at this. He's actually going to try to snipe the middle base during this time. This is so sneaky. This is next level SOS.
This is
okay?
SOS.
This is some EG Huck right now, or Liquid Huck even, I think it was, when he did the hallucination against Idra. The army's now out of position because of the fakes, and now he's in great position here on the ramp. Psystorm's going down, these Hydras trying to get some picks onto the Templar. They're unable to do so. And the Mothership's coming up. He
didn't even use this. He just made it.
Right now.
Oh, there we go. It's a little bit late.
Yeah.
Go Sentries.
Right now, this is, I mean, I don't even, Dark is like, what is going on? Like, he's like, do you have, how much supply of units do you actually have on this map? Now he sees it's fake. He's actually not even killing the sentries right now, as it's a carrier transition first and not the Tempests. So obviously he's going to need some Tempest to deal with the Broodlords. The carriers are going to struggle to get in close enough to finish them off. They're going to die to Hydras if he does that. Dark is, again, he doesn't have a massive bank, but he has the tech now needed to answer to everything that SOS has, and he has the bases stable. So this is still anyone's game to take. SOS is ahead, and he has the large bank, he has the Fleet Beacon tech, and he can make these carriers, but, you know, Dark is back in this for sure, and he could take another base soon, actually. Might even look to take the base near SOS's main. He's moving up now with these Broods onto the Watchtower, going to try to take control here. Mothership going to be very annoying to deal with. He has 3 Overseers currently. Really starting to work on these cannons. Mothership not in range of the cannon to give it cloak.
Yeah, and at this point he's at 10 Broodlords, so you really have to take this seriously. And you have to wonder, you know, SOS, he gave Dark so much time to get from 3 bases and something like 45 drones to now maybe 4 minutes later he's got 10 Broodlords, 5 bases, 65 drones, and he's building a bank. So
also, okay, this is a nice target on the Greater Spire. He never made Tempests. I almost started to wonder if he if he just didn't even know the Broodlord tech was there, and he made the fleet beacon because he was transitioning to carriers, not because he wanted to have the answer to the Broods, because he doesn't have any Tempests, doesn't want to cancel these carriers now, because he's going to need I mean, he spent so much time on the Stargate build time, but I imagine there will be Tempests coming out right afterwards. Storms here are good, but there's just so many Brewers, he can't even blink on them. All right, let's see if he goes Tempest after these carriers finish. He really needs them. If he doesn't, I feel like he's just misunderstanding the situation. Nope, he goes right back into carriers. Okay,
yeah, he's getting more carriers.
He wants the carriers.
I mean, he just finished Graviton Catapult, so I think he just at this point wants to commit to the carriers, but an interesting decision at the end of it all.
Yeah, I mean, obviously carriers are much better in a large number. Just having the 3 isn't that great, but there's so much Corruptor coverage here that he needs Void Rays as well. Like, Dark is fighting his way back into this game. This Nexus is now going to take some serious damage. He comes from behind. The Broodlords need to micro back. They're just going to sit there and eat the storms, actually.
It's literally sitting there and eating the storms. Broodlords. That's really the question. A lot of these Broodlords stay alive, and it looks like Dark will win the fight. Yep. Especially with all of those Corruptors to help on out.
That's game. How does he come back from this one?
I don't think there is a way to come back.
I guess the reason why he didn't eat the storms, or rather he didn't dodge the storms, is he wanted to make sure he was firing non-stop with those Broods. And it was enough to... They just survived. There wasn't enough storms. Storms don't stack. So basically it was kind of like he took 1.5 storms of damage there. The storms didn't continue to hit. He's going to lose this base now. SOS, he has a big bank, but Stargates can't warp in units. They don't build units fast. He's trying to make Void Rays now to deal with the Corruptors because he killed a lot of the ground army there. But it's being remade by Dark, who has this great economy now and actually finally has a bank. The tables have turned. And it's hard to believe this game has gone this way, but I feel like if you just have Tempest, you slow and steady win the race, but you went down the carrier path or didn't have enough.
If you just kill him 5 minutes earlier instead of backing up and transitioning into 3 Stargate carrier. He had such a gigantic army and he was like, nah, you know what? Go ahead and take 2 bases at the same time. I'll be fine. I'll have the better tech later on. But he allowed Dark to get back into this game, and now Dark is probably going to win it. I mean, I don't see any way to defeat this army of the Zerg.
Mind you, he did that while making a massive amount of sentries that you would have assumed he would have used to attack and finish the game, and he never did. He used them to make a fake army. What we needed was a real army. He made it too late, and this game is over. GG. Dark wins it. We're 1-1 now in this series. Gonna feel real silly right now is SOS, and I guarantee you the Gen Air coach is not happy because that was a game that was nearly won. It was nearly over, and he just let Dark come back in. Everyone's had that ladder game where you just try to play it a little bit too safe. You're a little bit too careful, and suddenly you're like, how does he have Broods? He has Broods what? You know, and you have to take an advantage to finish the game.
Not even just playing it safe at some point. You have to wonder, was he just being a little bit silly, you know, fooling around a bit? Like the 15 sentries with the giant hallucination army that he just didn't use. Like, what is that? And he didn't even attack with it and then go punish the 5th base. He attacked with his main army first. His hallucination army stood there, and then after he attacked, he moved in only the sentries, and all of them died. So that's 1,500 gas that goes down the drain, and he made a huge hallucination army for what? What was the point? What was that game, Wolf? I don't understand.
I don't understand either. Look, we should not have seen the game end that way. Just because, I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like, that game was bonkers, is what I'm going to say at the end of it, I guess. But he made all those sentries to fight the Banelings, and Dark never lost the Banelings. He always had them alive, so SOS was always nervous to commit in, because if the Banelings do connect and hit that army, he does win. Dark does win, even 20 army supply down.
Yeah.
But, you know, he never actually was able to finish things off. He never could remove that base. He never killed that 4th base or the 5th base. Hey, just done a big frontal assault and at least remove the bases. At least remove the bases. then things are different. Also, the Greater Spire was in such a crazy location that if he had scouted, perhaps he would have gone the Tempest. But when I first saw the fleet begin, I was like, oh, he scouted it. But I didn't actually know because we didn't have a shot of it. Apparently, he did not. Either that or he thought carriers are the answer to Broodlords, even though it's accepted otherwise. And perhaps he could have harassed it or killed it. People are just not. They're just not.
They're just not on the same page with us. Their minds are just as blown.
So
and, yeah, I mean, it makes sense with the sentries, but then it was the 5 minutes after that where he essentially just gave a Dark like a get out of free jail card, and he's like, "Here you go, get back into the game. That's fine."
Yeah,
that's the part that I don't understand, because I feel like he could have just ended the game from there, but he was like, "Well, it's 5 bases to 3. I'm going to be fine, right?"
I think if he made Tempest too, he just pokes the Broodlords. He has the counter. He had so much time. He already had the fleet beacon coming up before the Broods are even out. But that game is one of those games where people are going to look back on it and say, like, well, that was a weird one. There's definitely not much to take in here. It's like, ooh, this is not clean. Dark did everything right. Survived, was passive, never threw his Banelings away. But SOS should have theoretically taken that game. Either way, we're going to a game number 3. It's going to be on Abyssal Reef.
Here we go. Game number 3. It's time for this man in the top left to perhaps redeem himself. After game 2, it's SOS.
And down to the bottom right, in purple, it is Dark, SSL champion and a 2-time finalist of SSL. Let's see what SOS has planned this time. Is he going to go into the same Oracle opening, harassing his way into Colossi to deal with the Hydras Dark is making, or is he going to hit a timing? I feel like SOS is really kind of doing a lot of the same thing in this series, which is what he's not really known for. He's known for changing every build-up, every game. Obviously, there was massive differences in the first and second game, like him having to deal with the Ling all-in. His Stargate timing was very late and also scouted by Dark in the second game. So there are variations, but the same comp, the same mindset. No big early all-in. I feel like that's the one card SOS hasn't shown here, even though it's one of the weaker maps for it because of the long rush distance by ground. You could try to hit an adept timing here, perhaps, to just crush Dark and catch him totally unassumed. But we'll see what he decides to do. Just odd that he's kind of sticking with the same style in a best of 3 like this, which is just so unusual for him.
Yeah, I think after a game like that, maybe you have to begin to question yourself and say, okay, maybe I can mix it up a bit. I like what he was doing with the Adept Harass. It seemed like Dark just didn't have a good idea that it was coming, didn't seem to have perfect control on how to handle it. And so why mix up what's working? But then after that, perhaps the transition I would like to see that changed. But so far we aren't going to see anything too new as Dark takes another quick 3rd base for the 3rd game in a row.
Yeah, it's just going to be 1 Gateway Adept as well. This probe is really harassing. He was content with just harassing the close patches, and then he decided to start attacking the drones. He's not going to get a kill, but he's forcing Dark to multitask here.
Notice me!
He wants to get this drone. You know what? He actually will get it with 1 more shot. Oh my god.
Whoa. On the run.
I think it's 2 more shots now, but
Drone survives.
Drone survives. That was pretty crazy.
Robotech this time. Coming up pretty quick.
Yeah.
For SOS.
I wonder if this is just going to be a really fast drop, you know, with the Adepts.
Yeah, War Prisms are so strong in Legacy of the Void that generally when you see a fast robo like this, it's not like the Rain idea where it's like, okay, I'm going to get 5 observers and you can never attack me or harass me. It's like, no, I'm going to get over to his base super fast with even just 3 gate harassment with the War Prism. Could be 4 gate if he really wants to push the issue, but might be a bit much.
I think you're on the money. I think that's definitely going to be the just harassment coming out. He made a Stalker. Oh my god, he's going to do an Immortal timing. Well, this is the card I was looking for, right? The all-in, the timing. So it made the Stalker, which is always in this matchup to deny the Overlord Scout. So when Dark sees the Stalkers and be like, all right, something is hidden. You might think it's DTs. You might think it's another delayed Oracle. but it's going to be the Immortals.
He might make blind spores because of this, and that'll just be a waste.
He's actually getting Overlord speed, though, and that will help him break through. The Stalker can't stop a speed Overlord from scouting this, so...
Oh, he's going to see the
he sees
Immortal pop out.
He sees it pop out. So now he's like, okay. He makes a bunch of drones immediately. He wants to have the economy to have a big swing of units to deal with this when the push comes across. He also made an Evo chamber and wants to go for an Overlord drop. He has the speed this time, so he may just stop this build in its tracks by harassing and forcing SOS to defend. Overlord just wants to see if any more Immortals are being made, but it's starting to get a little bit low, so has to back it off.
Yeah. He sees everything. You know, he sees the Immortal, sees no gases at the natural, and he's setting up a drop to deny this, to delay this push coming out. SOS is still going to go for it. You can't really back off from here. I suppose you could try to just take a third base, but you might as well try to get some harassment damage with the units you've already made. He is going to make that third base as the Warp Prism flies across the map.
Okay, only one Immortal? Did he not make a second one? Okay, yeah, just the one.
Yeah, just one.
This is, I think this is his way of transitioning. He wants to still make it look like he's going to do it. He's still making probes, and he's starting to add his gases. But I think that Dark just has enough to hold this and kind of reads that this is no longer really a big commitment. He's going to warp it a few more Adepts here.
It's going to be 8 Adepts and 1 Immortal on, you know, towards this ramp. If he gets a good location and has that Warp Prism to pick up and micro those units, it won't be too bad. He's taking a pretty good trade here.
Dark actually really hurt that Prism, and the attack in the main base is killing some of his probes, stopping mining right now. The Queens are doing some serious work here. Prism still can't really get too close because of the Queens. Looks like one Queen just died there. I guess that's what that was. But anyways, the attack is held. He lost a few probes in the main, more so lost the mining time. And we're going to kind of transition to a fairly even game here. That's why making a very rapid transition out of that as soon as it was scouted. That was well done because he still forced the Lings from Dark. He still forced the response. I think killed a Queen or two. And has a third base coming up. He's got the Robotech. He's adding the extra gateways. The only thing he's really missing, I guess, is the Twilight Council. He gets the Forge first.
Yeah, and that's really the question here. You know, why go for this kind of half-hearted harass earlier on in the game, especially after Dark sees it coming, because you miss the timing with the Resonating Glaives, and you don't really have that pressure that you had in games 1 and 2. So now Dark's going to get a 4th base, and he's going to be doing some Baneling drop harassment, and I think he's going to be in a fantastic position. He sees this small Protoss army over here, feels pretty confident to hold that off with a bunch of Banelings back at home too. I think Dark's in a fantastic position in this game.
Yeah, and this is not the kind of move where you're like, aha, force some units instead of drones. We're not at that stage in the game anymore. Dark has a healthy saturation of drones for 4 bases, so he's not too concerned about this push coming across. He already has a large army. This looks like it might be a pretty big drop coming in here. I mean, not just this one, but he sends a bunch of Lings. He's actually going to attack the 3rd base instead of going over for a drop. There's nothing set up here. Few warp-ins of Adepts, but the cannon is not going to finish.
And no Resonating Glaives too.
Yep.
So it's going to be a lot harder to take out all these Lings.
Yeah, he's going to overcharge here, but Lings can actually kill these pylons if they commit.
And here comes the drop!
Look at this! Oh.
But no drop!
But like, you know, the cool thing about this too is he doesn't have to drop here. Just force his probes to be moved. That's pretty effective, if you ask me.
Now maybe SOS thinks there's no Banelings in there, I suppose.
He's gonna try it this time.
He's not gonna move, and now he should drop it out. Okay, there we go.
Oh, turned around too soon. That was weird.
He wants the money shot.
10
there
kills.
we go. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Overlord stays alive.
He sent all the Lings initially to where they are right now, and I thought he was going to send like 3 more Overlords and do a massive drop to the main, but decides to not do that and attack the 3rd instead. Mostly stable defense for SOS, who's now actually harassing the natural while attacking here. Good force fields once again, using the hatchery against these Lings. When it falls, he'll be able to break through. The Overlord is filled with Banes, but he already splits a little bit here.
Once they hit those entries, there's not a lot of force fields left. That hatchery is so
lives.
low, he's not going to commit to kill it.
He should have killed it. A few more Immortal shots and he finishes it off. I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. Ling's coming in here now.
Okay, all right.
This is a crazy series. This series is off the wall.
He leaves the front door open. Let's see how many kills these Lings can get.
Not very many. It looks like with the Photon Cannon and the Adepts in there. This is also a wall with this cannon, so don't think these Banes will get too many hits. Actually gets 3 more. More Baneling hits later will actually finish off the weakened probes that got hit by the second shot. Anyways, +2 is on the way here for SOS now, but his army was weakened and bruised. He doesn't have this massive army. Oh, ooh, I've killed a few adepts for sure.
Yeah. I just feel like, you know, we commented on this in Game 1 where SOS's play looked a little bit timid, and I think it's followed him throughout the series because right there at that 4th base, it's an extremely safe play to not take out that hatchery. And there is a reason why he didn't do it. He had no more force fields, and if he stayed, perhaps his whole army just gets run over by Banelings and he loses the game immediately. So it's not like he's just an idiot for not doing it. That's not what I'm trying to say, but it's just like a couple more immortal shots and then you back off.
Even if you have to right-click.
It's such a huge reward. But he's taking, you know, just the small chance that he might just lose the game right there. He doesn't want to take that risk, so he's just going to take no risk at all.
Well, the problem, you know,
for that huge reward.
Exactly, and I understand this reasoning because of everything you just said about the army and the fact that this is his last life in this tournament, this game. If he loses it, you know, he's going to the fast lane. The rest of the round robin doesn't even matter. So I understand that this is a time to be safe, but anyways, let's not kill a dead horse here. The hatch lives. Unlike the horse of this conversation,
you gotta kill that dead horse somehow, some way.
I meant to say beat the dead horse, but yeah, I'm always bad with these. 4th base is coming up for SOS. He has a decent immortal count. The barriers were popped earlier from those Banelings, but they should be off cooldown again now. And he has this large adept army, +2 attack. The base, he needs to hold on to it. If he can hold on to this base, he can transition well. Scouting the Ultralisk tech is going to be also important for SOS, although he already has a ton of immortals.
There were Banelings in that Overlord. All of those light units would have died. Either way, the Lings are coming on in. Another big warp.
Oh my god!
There they go.
Maybe you just don't need Banelings. But that was actually really expensive for Dark, to be honest. This army is still really difficult to deal with. He doesn't have the Ultras yet. He only has Lings and Banes and a few Queens here. The Archons are going to be great against this. The Transfusion's coming down. Good split here for SOS. This tournament life basically on the line.
He gets some pretty decent hits, actually, and it looks like just barely enough Banelings. It's really, really close.
And SOS doesn't hold the 3rd behind this. He's lost it. And I think this might just be it. GG. Dark will knock out the chances of SOS making it to playoffs here in this best of 3. A series that SOS will certainly long remember, especially after that 2nd game. The 1st game too, you know, so timid, as you mentioned, being ahead, not pulling the trigger, not finishing the game, missing killing that 4th hatchery. Felt so desperate, Dark's harass really wore him down in the 3rd and final game. And now he will not be able to make playoffs. His teammate Maru still has a good chance. One of our Jin players is basically out. He will play the remainder of his round robin games. With his score currently, he cannot advance.
Yeah. Didn't look too beat up about it, actually, walking out of the booth with a smile on his face. I think he's kind of just accepted his fate at this point. Dark, props to him, holding on in a lot of very close games, coming back from behind after lots of very dire situations. Makes it happen, and he will advance to 4-3 in terms of sets. He's 9-9 for map wins.
I think this was a very impressive series by Dark, especially the game on Daybreak. Yes, SOS could have killed him, potentially could have attacked to finish him off, but Dark did everything right in order to come back there. So
tenacity to hold on like that is pretty impressive.
Indeed. Well, our next match of the evening will be between Solar and Patience. So another ZVP is coming at you guys after a very short commercial break. See you guys in about 2 minutes.